Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, translated with commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Adi Lila, Chapter 7. Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. Let me offer my obeisances unto Lord Sri Krishna, who has manifested himself in 5, as a devotee, expansion of a devotee, incarnation of a devotee, pure devotee, and devotional energy. Purport. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is the immediate expansion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as his brother. He is the personified spiritual bliss of Satchidananda Vigraha. His body is transcendental and full of ecstasy and devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is therefore called Bhakta Rupa, the form of a devotee. And Sri Nityananda Prabhu is called Bhakta Swarupa, the expansion of a devotee. Sri Advaita Prabhu, the incarnation of a devotee, is Vishnu Tattva and belongs to the same category. There are also different types of bhaktas or devotees on the platform of neutrality, servitude, friendship, fraternity, and conjugal love. Devotees like Sri Damodar, Sri Gadadhar, and Sri Ramananda are different energies. This confirms the Vedic sutra, Parasya Shaktir Vividhaya Shriyate. All these bhakta subjects, taken together, constitute Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself. Text 7. Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, the Supreme Controller. No one is greater than or equal to Sri Krishna, yet he appears as the son of Maharaj Nanda. Purport. In this verse, Kaviraj Goswami gives an accurate description of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by stating that although no one is equal to or greater than him, and he is the reservoir of all spiritual pleasure, he nevertheless appears as the son of Maharaj Nanda and Yasoda Mai. Text 8. Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the supreme enjoyer in the rasa dance. He is the leader of the damsels of Vraj, and all others are simply his associates. Purport. The word rasadi vilasi, the enjoyer of the rasa dance, is very important. The rasa dance can be enjoyed only by Sri Krishna, because he is the supreme leader and chief of the damsels of Vrindavan. All other devotees are his associates. Although no one can compare with Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are many unscrupulous rascals who imitate the rasa dance of Sri Krishna. They are Mayavadis, and people should be very wary of them. The rasa dance can be performed only by Sri Krishna and no one else. Text 9. The selfsame Lord Krishna advented himself as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with all his eternal associates who are also equally glorious. Text 10. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Controller, the one Personality of Godhead, has ecstatically become a devotee, yet his body is transcendental and not materially tinged. Purport. There are different tattvas or truths, including Isha Tattva, Jiva Tattva, and Shakti Tattva. Isha Tattva refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who is the Supreme Living Force. In the Katha Upanishad it is said, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Eternal and the Supreme Living Force. The living entities are also eternal and also living forces, but they are very minute in quantity, whereas the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Living Force and the Supreme Eternal. The Supreme Eternal never accepts a body of temporary material nature, whereas the living entities, who are part and parcel of the Supreme Eternal, are prone to do so. Thus, according to the Vedic mantras, the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Master of innumerable living entities. The Mayavadi philosophers, however, try to equate the minute living entities with the Supreme Living Entity. Because they recognize no distinctions between them, their philosophy is called Advaitavada, or monism. Factually, however, there is a distinction. This verse is especially meant to impart to the Mayavadi philosopher the understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Controller. The Supreme Controller, Personality of Godhead, is Krishna himself, but as a transcendental pastime, he has accepted the form of a devotee, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, comes to this planet exactly like a human being, some rascals consider him to be one of the ordinary humans. One who thinks in that mistaken way is described as mudha, or foolish. Therefore, one should not foolishly consider Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be an ordinary human being. He has accepted the ecstasy of a devotee, but he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there have been many imitation incarnations of Krishna, who cannot understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Krishna himself, and not an ordinary human being. Less intelligent men create their own gods by advertising a human being as God. This is their mistake. Therefore, here the words Tanra Sudha Kalevara warn that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body is not material, but purely spiritual. One should not therefore accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an ordinary devotee, although he has assumed the form of a devotee. Yet one must certainly know that although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he accepted the ecstasy of a devotee, one should not misunderstand his pastimes and place him in exactly the same position as Krishna. It is for this reason only that when Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was addressed as Krishna or Vishnu, he blocked his ears, not wanting to hear himself addressed as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is a class of devotees called Gauranga Nagari, who stage plays of Krishna's pastimes using a vigraha or form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a mistake, which is technically called rasa basa. While Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is trying to enjoy as a devotee, one should not disturb him by addressing him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 11. The transcendental mellow of conjugal love of Krishna is so wonderful that Krishna himself accepts the form of a devotee to relish and taste it fully. Purport. Although Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, he has a special intention to taste himself by accepting the form of a devotee. It is to be concluded that, although Lord Chaitanya is present in the form of a devotee, he is Krishna himself. Therefore, Vaishnavas sing, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahe Anya. Radha and Krishna combined together are Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is some Sanskrit here. Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami has said that Radha and Krishna assumed oneness in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 12. For this reason, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Teacher, accepts the form of a devotee and accepts Lord Nityananda as his elder brother. Text 13. Sri Advaita Acharya is Lord Chaitanya's incarnation as a devotee. Therefore, these three tattvas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Goswami, are the predominators or masters. Purport. Goswami means Goswami. A person who has full control over the senses and mind is called a Goswami or Goshani. One who does not have such control is called Godasa, or servant of the senses, and cannot become a spiritual master. A spiritual master who actually has control over the mind and senses is called Goswami. Although the Goswami title has become a hereditary designation for unscrupulous men, actually the title Goshani or Goswami began from Sri Rupa Goswami, who presented himself as an ordinary grihasta and minister in government service, but became Goswami when he was actually elevated by the instruction of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Goswami is not a hereditary title, but refers to one's qualifications. When one is highly elevated in spiritual advancement, regardless of where from he comes, he may be called Goswami. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Goswami Prabhu are natural Goswamis because they belong to the Vishnu Tattva category. As such, all of them are Prabhus, predominators or masters, and they are sometimes called Chaitanya Goswami, Nityananda Goswami, and Advaita Goswami. Unfortunately, their so-called descendants, who do not have the qualifications of Goswami, have accepted this title as a hereditary designation or a professional degree. This is not in accord with the Shastra conjunctions. Text 14. One of them is Mahaprabhu, and the other two are Prabhus. These two Prabhus serve the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. Purport. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and Sri Advaita Prabhu all belong to the same Vishnu category, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is nevertheless accepted as the Supreme, and the other two Prabhus engage in his transcendental loving service to teach ordinary living entities that every one of us is subordinate to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In another place in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Ekala Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabda Vricha. The only Supreme Master is Krishna, and all others, both Vishnu Tattva and Jiva Tattva, engage in the service of the Lord. Both the Vishnu Tattva as Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita, and the Jiva Tattva, Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda, engage in the service of the Lord. But one must distinguish between the Vishnu Tattva servitors and the Jiva Tattva servitors. The Jiva Tattva servitor, the spiritual master, is actually the servitor God. As explained in previous verses, in the absolute world there are no such differences, yet one must observe these differences in order to distinguish the Supreme from his subordinates. Text 15. The three predominators, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Prabhu, are worshipable by all living entities. And the fourth principle, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu, is to be understood as their worshipper. Purport. In his Anubhasya, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, describing the truth about the Panchatattva, explains that we can understand that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the supreme predominator, and Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu are his subordinates, but are also predominators. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord, and Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu are manifestations of the Supreme Lord. All of them are Vishnu Tattva, the Supreme, and are therefore worshipable by the living entities, although the other two tattvas within the category of Panchatattva, namely Shakti Tattva and Jiva Tattva, are represented by Gadadhar and Srivas, are worshippers of the Supreme Lord. They are in the same category because they eternally engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord.